congressman from Florida. Our friend Greg Steube was inside the hall for Zelensky's speech. He joins us now. Congressman, good to see you.
Hey, good to see you. Thanks for having me.
What did you make of the speech, Congressman?
Well, I think the most compelling thing is obviously the video that he showed. You know, there's not a lot of us, we see news, but we don't see a lot of the actual real video of children being wounded, civilians being dumped in mass graves, the atrocities that are occurring there on civilians. So it was certainly very compelling to see that type of footage directly from the ground in Ukraine. And I think there was a lot of solidarity amongst the members of Congress, both Republican and Democrat, that saw that. And it's compelling. You know, you have a lot of you want to reach out to the Ukrainian people, but you also have to take a step back and realize that the Americans involved militarily in the Ukraine, that you're instigating World War III, and you're just basically doing exactly what Putin wants you to do. Putin is looking for every excuse to engage in NATO countries, to engage the United States in hostilities, and we can't give him that reason to do that.
Yeah, let me play another soundbite for you from Zelensky today. Take a listen to this.
Today, the Ukrainian people are defending not only Ukraine, we are fighting for the values of Europe and the world, sacrificing our lives in the name of the future. That's why today the American people are helping not just Ukraine, but Europe and the world to keep the planet alive.
I will say, Congressman, stopping tyrants is in the world's best interest, but quite frankly, I've got a 12-year-old son. 6 years from now, I don't want him going over there and fighting the Russians.
Right, and what he said was the Europeans. Well, why aren't more of the European countries helping him? Nobody that's a NATO ally along the border of the Ukraine, on the western side of the Ukraine, is helping them. The Americans have sent now, Congress passed $14 billion worth of aid. $3.5 billion of that was for military equipment. When Trump was president, he sent them javelins. There was an announcement today by the Biden administration of anti-aircraft, anti-tank missile systems that we'll be sending to help them defend their country. I don't know what else more we can do outside of getting involved kinetically, which would have astronomical effects on the entire world, because it would give Vladimir Putin and the Russians the reason to attack the United States, to attack NATO allies, and you would be at the beginning of World War III with a nuclear war power who has tactical nukes on the border of the Ukraine.
And don't forget, with a so-called commander-in-chief that may be the weakest commander-in-chief in the history of America leading troops in a battle, that is not a place I want to be. Let me ask you this question. You fought in Iraq for us, and God bless you, and I thank you for doing that. There's all this talk of the MiG-29s, these Polish MiGs. In many respects, I almost feel like this is lawmakers wanting to feel good about themselves by fighting to send them something, but these are old and outdated MiGs. You mentioned the Javelins. I think the Javelins do them far greater good than these MiGs will.
Well, and that's assuming they have pilots that can fly these things. I mean, we have to take a step back here. So back in the 90s, the Budapest papers were signed from Russia and the Ukraine that didn't allow Ukraine to have nuclear weapons. And then the Russians violated that in 2014, and Obama, Biden did nothing to sanction them. Then as soon as the Russians were building up on the Ukrainian border, we should have been sanctioning the Russians long before all of this happened. And a year ago, Biden took away sanctions on Nord Stream 2 that let billions of dollars of revenue go into Russia. And Zelensky himself has stated that is financing the attacks on his country right now. So unfortunately, we're in a position that this administration has created. If Trump was in office, none of this would be going on, because there is strength through power, and we would have allowed any of these things to happen. And as soon as they started to happen, we would have put very strict sanctions in place. Well, unfortunately, this administration didn't do that. And we're now in this circumstance where Russia is violently attacking a peaceful democratic nation, and we have to make very tough decisions.
Yeah. Again, we can blame Joe Biden and his administration and his team for just about all of this, because just like a common street thug, even a global tyrant will exploit weakness. And that's exactly what Putin has done here. Congressman Greg Steube, I always appreciate when you come on the program. It's good to see you, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right.